Hello, this is Susan Yates, author and speaker, and today we're going to be talking about the strengths and weaknesses we see in our different children and answering the question, how in the world do we help them grow? Recently, my friend Laurie asked me a really good question. She said, Susan, I have one child, happens to be a boy, who's so strong-willed. He's got amazing leadership gifts. He bosses everybody in the family around, and if we don't do something the way he thinks it should be done, he lets us know. And sometimes his words are not at all kind, and he's really insensitive. On the other hand, my daughter is very sensitive. She's the type of child that if she sees a dead bird, she dissolves into tears. Or if you look at her in the wrong way, she cries. She's the one whose feelings get terribly hurt when she gets left out of the little girl clique at school. And there are a lot of little girl cliques at school. How do I handle these different personalities? Well, one of the things that I love about this age group, which is usually the elementary years, is that you can begin to have adult conversations with these children. So what I recommend is, if you have a bossy child who obviously has leadership gifts, take that child aside and say, son or daughter, I want to explain to you the concept of gifts and weaknesses. I notice that God has given you strong leadership gifts. People follow you. You have vision, you have a plan. And God is going to use these gifts in an amazing way as you grow up. But son, every gift has a flat or negative side, or a weakness, you might call it. And the weak side of having the gift of leadership is that we can come across as bossy. And sometimes we push and run over people. And often we use unkind words. But the exciting thing is that God can grow you as you recognize these weaknesses, and He can help you to develop into a kind leader who is sensitive to others. And God is going to use you in a mighty way. I'm so proud of you. Give your son or daughter who has this nature of a strong leader capability a role model. Son, let me tell you about a man named George Washington, our first president. You may have already studied him in school. But he was a strong leader, and he changed our history as a country. So that's an example of a strong, bossy leader. I should know. I was one, and I know it drove my mom and dad crazy. Now let's talk about your sensitive child. How do you handle this? You take this child aside and you say, sweetie, I've noticed that you are unusually sensitive, and that's a gift. You are empathetic. You can tell when somebody's hurting. You instinctively know when somebody needs a hug. And you're kind. And God is going to use these gifts. But with the gift of being sensitive, there's also a weakness. And the weakness is that you overreact. And you're going to have to toughen up. You know, sweetie, I understand that your feelings are hurt. But one of the ways that you need to grow is in letting it roll off your back. Learning how to just let go of those things that seem so hugely hurtful and move on. And you also give this child a role model. Sweetie, there was a woman who had the gift of sensitivity that grew into compassion. She wound up changing the world and being a model for so many of us who need to learn about compassion. And her name was Mother Teresa. One of the things I love about helping our children recognize gifts and weaknesses is it also gives us an opportunity to be honest with them about our own. So let your children, they probably observed you anyway, but let them in on how you see some of your own gifts and weaknesses, and be honest about the ways that you've had to learn to enhance the positive side of the gift and lessen the downside. One of my favorite proverbs is 27 verse 23, which says, know well the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds. Now I take that as a mandate to study my children, to ask God to reveal to me how they're packaged, to give careful attention to them. And God will do this because they're His children first. So don't be thrown off by the strengths or the weaknesses that you see in your children, but ask God to show you how to help them manage and mature them. For more information on this topic, check out the blog posts that we've linked below. And don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter. Thanks for joining me.